Hi, Robert. It's so good to see you.
Hi, Brandy.
Hi, I am very excited today because we are kicking off our podcast series. And this is obviously a very special one from Raes. We are going to take a moment to look back at 2024. We're going to review some of the interesting developments in the roofing industry, which is such an exciting industry. And we're going to take a peek into what lies ahead for 2025, and who better to do that with than you, Robert Budron, who eats deep dish pizzas sometimes if he's okay with having what he considers a casserole.
Yes.
And that is okay. You grew up in a family of roofers who combined operate 5 independent companies, and you've worked every single roofing job from laborer to operations manager. And since 2020, you have been building the Raes management system and consulting with roofing companies across the country to help them identify their path to maximize their potential. That's a lot. I just want to again reiterate, it's going to be informal. We're going to have a conversation, and I'm really excited to pick your brain about how you felt 2024 went for this industry, sort of gauge your advice to your audience, and then we can talk about, what to look forward to in 2025. So I'm going to give you the stage now. I'll stop talking.
No, thank you so much, Brandy. I am very deeply in the camp of deep dish is not pizza. Just want to throw that out there.
I
If you want,
disagree, my friend.
no, if you want real Chicago pizza, it's tavern style. Uh, but anyways, on to roofing, I suppose. Um, yeah, 2024. Whew, weird year, I think. Obviously, still the industry is growing. Still, lots of good things coming for the roofing industry, but things are definitely starting to shift a bit. That tried and true insurance market it's reacting, right? And it has been for a while now, but we've seen some of the major carriers pull out of the entire state of Florida. That's like a
Right.
really big deal, right? Um, just in general, the deny delay tactics have increased. I've just talked to a client of mine yesterday who said, at this point, I go the retail route, even if it's an insurance claim, just because it's saves the time. And
Right.
anyways, it's interesting. That was always just the easiest way to get in, was just hire a team of door knockers, go hit some doors in the area that got hit, and you'll get your momentum that way, right? And then you'll kind of figure it out as you go. Um, I just that path looks different now. I mean, there's also an increased usage in like AI drone scans by the insurance companies. I don't know. Have you heard about that at all? Um,
Briefly, article popped up on my phone, but I'm expecting you to tell me.
sure. Yeah. So homeowners, policyholders are getting letters that they're at risk of having their coverage dropped because, you know, the kind of wear and tear has been identified by these aerial drones that just fly over at a certain height, and they'll just be able to do a quick scan and say, oh, uh, you know, that roof is in bad enough condition to where if a storm was to hit, we would not cover it because it was already in bad shape, right? So the
So they're
onus is now on the
preemptively,
policyholder.
yeah, they're preemptively finding ways to decline it
Exactly.
quickly.
Exactly.
One.
So I think that there's opportunity there, but it definitely is going to require a shift in strategy. Another interesting development that's relatively new. I mean, it's not new to 2024, but we're seeing an uptick is the involvement of private equity. They have roofing companies like in their sites, and
Right.
they're buying them up at a pretty decent clip. So what that means for like the regular mom and pop roofing shops, right? The kind of staple, I'm here in my local community. and I'm kind of known as that person, is, I mean, what it means is going to depend on what you want, right? But it's definitely something to keep an eye on, because roofing is a pretty fractured market. There's not really like big players. There are, but not in the same way that there are in other industries. So it'll be interesting just to see like if that consolidation continues, who kind of emerges as like the big mega roofing corporation, if you will. Ugh. But yeah.
I mean, I think what you're doing right now is very different from what others would attempt to do. And that's acknowledging sort of the struggles that we've had. I think it's easy to come out the gate and say, we've had a glorious year. It's been amazing, and things will continue to be amazing. But the reality is not necessarily that. And I think you, of all people, understand the importance of acknowledging that. And so, you know, you're from a family of roofers and you have all of this industry experience. Given where we're at, what would you say going forward people should try to do to sort of protect themselves, or what sort of plans of action do you think would be beneficial for them to take place?
Yeah. I think so given sort of those two things that I mentioned, right? The kind of shifts in the insurance market, the involvement of private equity. Another thing too is we're still feeling the effects of inflation, and like kind of folks are being cautionary with their spending. So when you kind of, and again, I don't want to overstate it, we're not taking the insurance play off the table by any means, but when that becomes a less reliable option, and then on the other side of the coin, the retail option is also impacted by the fact that folks are, kind of counting pennies, right? Gas is up, groceries are up, everything is up. Materials are more expensive for the roofers, labor is more expensive. It creates a pretty tough environment. But I do think that one of the absolute necessities, I think, if you're planning to be in this for the long haul, is you have to be able to craft a really solid retail foundation. You have to be able to generate inbound leads. You have to do the marketing. You have to do the branding. And you have to deliver, right? To me, it's not, the marketing isn't just about, getting digital marketing ads going, doing the lettered trucks. It's really about first crafting a really solid reputation in a particular community. We know that roofers, just in general, don't have the greatest reputation as an industry, right? You add that whole storm chasing kind of factor into the mix, and there's a base level skepticism that customers are going to have about working with a roofer. So I think if you are one of those companies that has done the work to go above and beyond, to provide a great customer experience, to make sure that they're taken care of, that you do the best you can to protect that reputation, first of all, from an operational standpoint. So, I think kind of a classic path is you have your founder who is involved in every project, who's overseeing everything, making sure it's all top notch. And then at some point, you're like, all right, the referrals are picking up. We're starting to get some word of mouth. And now I'm too busy to handle every single aspect. How do you protect that reputation when you have other folks come into the room, come into the business, and now they're handling things on your behalf? Your name is associated not just with yourself, but with somebody else who's working underneath you, right?
Right.
And that can be a difficult transition, but it's necessary. So that's kind of where I spend a lot of my time focusing, thinking about on a day-to-day is how do we enable roofers to leverage their strong reputations, right? Obviously, reviews go a long way. Do you have a solid funnel in place to, when you do have a happy customer, is there a process to get them to endorse you, right? And then, of course, how do we protect that reputation? Basically, how do we take the level of care that the owner has and instill that in every area of the operation as it grows?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, too, I know that's such a focus for you. building and maintaining your reputation in the industry. And I know that's something that you really value in your clients as well. And hopefully the clients themselves value doing that for themselves as well, building and protecting their reputation. It's a hard thing to do as a founder of a company. And like you said, other people are out there under your name. It's a hard thing to let go of control a little bit or enable them and help them, be the best they can be.
Yeah.
So
I'll say there's like really three typical paths that goes when you're at that stage. It's really, and probably the most common one is, you bring somebody on, something bad happens or they mess up in some way and you almost recoil, right? And it's like, from now on, I've got to oversee everything. And, there's kind of like the micromanaging tendencies. And what that does is it keeps you small, right? Like
right.
your company can only grow to the point that you can handle, right? And that's not that much relative to what's possible, right? The other option that, I would say there's kind of two bad options and one that is the best, but the other not so great option is, well, I'm going to grow the team and we'll see how it goes, right? And yeah, we've had a couple issues. We've had some angry customers. We've definitely made some big mistakes. But that's just the cost of doing business, right? That's the cost of growth. Neither, I think, is the right mindset. It's about taking the core values that you hold dear as an owner, the expectations and standards you hold yourself to, and being able to get them outside of just your own head, right? Get them imbued in company documentation, training and onboarding, like your hiring practices. I know that we tend to talk about like there's just a lack of good qualified help, but that doesn't mean that we lower the standards. I think if anything, it means we have to operate to a higher standard and we have to be really, really picky. And when that person that does operate to that same level comes along, you snatch them up and you take care of them. You make sure, actually my brother always says this, he runs a company down in Florida, he says, you treat them good enough to where they don't want to leave, right?
Yeah. I mean,
there's another half to that phrase, but I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Says it all. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I think that, it takes time to shift one's mindset into embracing that, because it's so easy to want to control everything. It's so easy to fall into that sort of micromanaging situation. But, if you are able to challenge yourself to get out of it, hold yourself to a higher standard, and then, by putting that out there, you'll attract what you're putting out. Right. And then you do what you need to do to retain that talent. So that's just a glimpse of some of your knowledge into how roofing companies and their structures work. But why don't we shift a little bit into, Raes as a company and how you see Raes and your team planning to support their clients, kind of going forward, given where we're at.
Yeah. So again, I think keeping that reputational integrity in mind, obviously our big thing is we've built our business around a software platform that's a business management platform, but really what we talk about it as is an accountability system. So in talking about, how do you get those standards and those expectations out of just the owner's head and into, some objective place where the whole team can know them and follow them, we always talk about technology is an opportunity for that, right? So building systems, having checks and balances in place to make sure folks are doing the things they're supposed to be doing that are expected of them. Now, one of the interesting observations that I've had, right, this has really been our first full year offering that platform. And so I've had the opportunity to talk to hundreds of companies in all across the United States, Canada, And I've observed some trends, some things that I keep hearing that has honestly shifted my mindset a little bit. One of the things that I'm always hearing is like, yeah, we use so-and-so, or we're using, one of the big systems, but I really only use it for, this, that, and the other thing. I don't use most of it, right? And so that's been interesting to me as somebody who's led the development and design of our platform. I've kind of been in the mindset of, always thinking of innovating, building new features, how to take what the competitors have and do it better, right? But hearing this over and over, it's kind of dawned on me, like, I felt like I was in a bit of an arms race, like just build, build, build.
Right.
But if we're building things that aren't getting used, then what value is there really in that anyways? So my mindset has kind of shifted to, all right, we really need to refocus on these companies that are our clients, the challenges that they're facing, and how do we take what we've already built, right? And how do we plan the new things that we're building to really focus on the challenges that they're facing on a day-to-day basis? And how do we get them actually taking advantage of these tools that are at their disposal to achieve their big picture business goals, right?
And I think achieving that big picture business goal, you're right. A software isn't going to do that for you. It's just not. A software doesn't understand your current business's dynamics. It doesn't understand the personnel going on. It doesn't understand where you're currently at, what stage you're at, and growing your company. But a person does. Y'all do. So adding that sort of human side to things, I think, is what makes you unique. And then your software, which is fantastic. Y'all have made amazing strides this year in just 1 year by listening to your customer and sort of doing what you can to build out this software. That's ancillary. That's going to propel your already strong foundation that you sort of build with your client through that human touch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've kind of been saying, like, we're doubling down on the human side. We know technology is a necessity to be a roofing company in the 21st century, right? It's only going to continue to be the case. Obviously, AI was another massive development this year. AI is everywhere. It's inescapable, and it's kind of scary. And that's all the more reason why I believe in the shift that we're taking. We're kind of, and when I say we, I'm talking about Raes and then our competitors, right? We're trying to build like these turbocharged Ferraris when our market is ready for like a Honda Accord.
Stability.
And so, especially it's like, all right, now we're going to bring AI into the fold. And there's this anxiety around, am I going to be replaced by an AI? I hear that all the time. And that doesn't have to be the case. It can be an asset to help the folks that we're working with do their jobs better, and not, this big, scary, world-conquering thing. But I think just offering the willingness to sit and think through, how are we going to take advantage of these new technologies, these new advancements, right? What's appropriate at this stage? What do you really actually need? Instead of, hey, look at this sexy new thing that we built. You said it, right? Technology isn't going to solve all your problems. So one thing that's really begun to bother me is the way that software is marketed is as like, as soon as you buy this, all of your problems are handled. And
it's all marketed that way.
It really is. And it's just not true. Trust me, I would love to say it is. I would love to say you pay me and life is great and we're all going to go sit on a beach somewhere. But no, especially given the context I mentioned earlier, like we're hearing on a regular basis. Even, when I'm on a demo, I'll show a feature, right, that I know is going to catch some eyes, and I'll get the reaction. Often it's the owner or it's the production manager. Production's one of our real strengths. He's like, I love this. This is amazing. Here's the problem. I could never get my team to use it. Okay. So let's sit with that for a second, right? Because typically I'm only showing this because you've expressed that there's a need here.
Right.
And so what we're finding is there's a bit of a cultural problem. There's a sense of, I'm lucky just to have humans who show up every day. Asking them to do much more than that, I can't expect that, right? And so one of the things we want to figure out, one of the things that's central in my brain is, how do we equip our owners and their management teams with the leverage to actually be the ones who can enforce, right? How do you enforce policies and procedures when it's just something that just isn't deeply rooted in what we're doing? I think it's what needs to happen for these companies that we're talking about, especially when reputation is what's at stake.
Right.
They're the ones that will have success in this new age, the ones who can figure it out.
Yes. And I think you're alluding to sort of your one-on-one time, your consultation, and helping them figure it out. Have you had a success story that you can share today, or maybe an example of how you've approached sort of that conversation with someone today, with a client today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's become the main focus for us. So I guess I should mention, we're kind of turning the standard software model on its head to a degree. And like I said, we're doubling down on the human side of things. So we've begun offering consulting as a standalone service, completely independent of the software, whether you're a user on our system or not. And where we're always starting is, of course, what's the big picture goal? Is everyone in the room unified in understanding this is what X company is looking to achieve in this amount of time? Or is it just people show up and they do stuff and then they go home at the end of the day, and no one really knows why we're all running around like chickens with our heads cut off, but we know it gets us a paycheck at some point. And so that's been one of the things, is building that buy-in among the team and then identifying what's the process, right? So I would say that's been the area where we see kind of the most tangible gains with our clients. Is we ask each individual on the team, can you describe the process from start to finish, from the first contact with the lead all the way to the point where invoices have been sent and payments collected? And then you hear different takes, right? And it's like, okay, now we're identifying some gaps here. We're not all on the same page. Now let's all get in the room together and figure out, see this area here where there's like 3 or 4 different versions of what's supposed to happen. What are we going to agree is the actual way it should happen, right? So one of my clients recently, we crafted an insurance process. Well, we started with the residential retail process, and got that fully built out. This is all the steps. Here's who handles each step. They have a pretty robust management team. So, steps 1 through 4 are handled by the office manager. Steps 5 through 10, off the top of my head or so, are the sales manager, and so on and so forth. Then we built variation. So how does this look different in the insurance scenario? They do a lot of commercial service work. What does that process look like? Now, going into 2025, there can be a higher level of confidence. This is what the roadmap to success looks like going in. These are the things that we need to enforce. And then it's kind of a diagnostic. Where are we falling short on this? Where are our team not coming through? And then it becomes an issue of just focusing on improving in those areas.
I mean, I get so excited hearing about sort of your approach when you're sitting down with your clients, because I truly believe that people come to the table when, owners of these companies are coming to the table with the best intentions, whatever their company goal is or their company mission is. And, they believe in that, and they believe it's, right. And that's great. But the roadmap, like you're saying, the roadmap to get there, I think people often fall short of, okay, wait, we do need guardrails, sort of like, what is the process for these things? How do I achieve X, Y, Z so that we can maintain our path to achieving our overall mission in the right way?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
I'll
sounds
say
like
this.
you're
Roofing isn't fun, right? This isn't Roofing doesn't make a great hobby. Like no one is really in this industry because they have, and I might catch flack for this, but they're not in here because they have a passion for being up high off the ground, working, 12-hour days, etc. They're here because there's opportunity. And so that's what excites me is folks get started and they start seeing traction, right? And they see the opportunity ahead of them. It's just there's so many opportunities for that path to be obscured, or for the company to fall off that path, or even take a step backwards. And so really what I'm most excited about with the direction we're taking with the consulting is just to really actually deliver results. The technology is still there. It's still a big part of what we're planning to do, but we just know that a little bit more personalized attention, a little bit more personalized implementation, and knowing, okay, this is the context into which we're introducing all of these powerful tools. Here are all the ways that it could go wrong. Here are all the ways that it could get ignored. Shelfware is the term, right? You pay for software, but you don't use it. We don't want that to be the case for us. We really want to focus on, and it's not just for us. I should mention, we're offering the consulting whether you're a Raes software user or not. If you're using one of the other platforms that are popular, we'll still work with you. We can still help you create the strategy around the process that's going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah, I think that offer alone just shows that you really believe in what you have to offer. And I can really appreciate that. I think the bottom line here is, if you're looking for a software that you're going to use 10% of, then it's not with Robert. But if you're looking to really dive in to, creating a foundation for your company and for your people, let's talk, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe if you find that Raes software fits in as sort of an ancillary piece that continues to propel you to success, fantastic. But that doesn't have to be part of it. I think your mission is not to sell shelfware, and that's
not just to push user licenses.
Right.
We're looking to work with only the companies that are interested in really building a legacy for themselves, for their families. There's the opportunity to do that. We've lived that. And I'm just excited at the opportunity to continue spreading that opportunity as much as possible. But yeah, there are some baseline, like, you have to really be committed to doing this thing. It takes work. It's not easy. I'm not going to make it easy, but I am going to up the odds.
Robert, I love this. You're fantastic. I think that you gave a fantastic overview as to sort of how you can help, how you can partner with sort of these clients that are really looking to build and maintain their reputation come 2025. So, we're wrapping things up a little bit here, but I want to end on a note from you. I'd love for you to share something with your clients, your audience out there as we approach the new year. What would you like to send them off with?
Yeah, no, the only thing is just a deep gratitude. As you mentioned earlier, my family and I have been in this industry for a long, long time. It's done wonders for our lives. And so thankful for roofing in general, but then also in particular over this year, last 16 months or so, really thankful for every business and the employees at those businesses who gave me time, who were willing to speak with me. Some of them went on to become clients I still talk to on a regular basis, but really beginning to build that community of like-minded individuals who, again, want to do things right. They want to build a reputation for excellence, and allowing me to be a part of those conversations and all of these things that we've talked about in terms of our plans for 2025 are really inspired by conversations with real folks doing the work on a day-to-day. So just incredibly thankful for that.
I have to mirror that. I think, I think it shows a lot that your plans for 2025 are stemming from your customers and your clients. It just shows again that you're listening and you're engaged and you're involved and you're not just, churning software. So I think that's fantastic. I'll say it too. Thank you to the Raes customer family, and I hope you have a happy holidays for the rest of 2024 and you bring in the new year with a bang, and we can't wait to meet you in 2025.
Big things around the corner,
Big
2025.
things in 2025. Come down to Austin, Texas for some barbecue. We have a Michelin star barbecue restaurant now.
I am there. That is, oh man, it's
Bring
about lunchtime. So
along, bring the kids. We'll get some beef ribs.
dino ribs. I'm here for it.